Welcome to the Mindset, Marketing and Money podcast hosted by me, Dean Seddon. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. So, welcome back to the podcast. Apologies if my voice is a bit weird. I'm here in the US and I've been speaking at different events and my voice is slowly giving out. But I'm here and I'm excited to bring you this episode, and I'm going to probably piss off some people by the examples I use in this, but it's inspired by the election that's going on here in the US at the moment. And everywhere I go, I see Harris wall signs and Trump signs, and, you know, it's all going on here. And I've been through a few different states where actually, I've gone through very Democrat dominated places and Republican dominated places. I've seen the MAGA hats. I've seen all sorts here going on, and it's fascinating to watch. But I wanted to talk about today about the power of belief. And we often say this saying here at Maverick: if people buy into you, they'll buy from you. And I'm going to use Donald Trump as an example here to make a point. And I'm going to test some of you, because some of you have to get over the analogy I'm going to use to be able to see the point. And I know I'm being deliberately provocative and this may cost me some subscribers, but I'm using him as an example because for all his craziness, for all his flaws, he actually embodies the point of what I'm going to say today really well. And I think we're all grown up enough that we can take the concept and take him as an example without saying we agree with him, without saying we support everything he stands for, without saying, he's a perfect human being. I think we can take him as an example without, having to feel like we support him. But one of the things, particularly in 2024, this post kind of, there is an element of we are in a post-truth world. And I mean this in the sense that a lot of the media is partisan, particularly here. A lot of what we see on social media is curated to reinforce what we prefer. You scroll on social media, you say, oh, I love cat videos, and then the next minute TikTok's filling your feed with cat videos. We have a society now where there's so much information that supports what we believe all around us that it's hard to tell what's true and what's not. And so what we're seeing is that people are choosing to buy into individuals. So you'll see this with Donald Trump, you'll see this with Kamala Harris, you'll see that people are choosing to align themselves with other people. And so it's technically called tribalism. And this is happening all around the world in all different contexts, and business leaders and businesses are doing it too. Personal branding comes out of that whole concept of tribalism. It's people align with people who fit their worldview and see the world the same. We bunch together in groups. Now, this has a massive impact for you in your business because people don't just buy products anymore and services. They buy from what fits and what fits them. And so if people really believe in you as an individual, they will buy from you. This is how fans are created. And I'm not talking, often what happens is when we get into this conversation about fans and, our audience and building a community, we often think big scale, big celebrities, but actually every business should be building its own fan base. And you as a founder of a business, you as an entrepreneur or solopreneur should be building your army of fans. Now, one of the biggest myths about this is that you need masses of fans. And I can tell you with confidence that you actually don't need that many. If you had 100, there's a great book about 1,000 true fans would probably give you, a lifestyle that you would probably dream of, 1,000 fans. But for most people, a very good living, that freedom, that lifestyle they want, where they can pick and choose their clients, they only need maybe 100 fans. 100 fans. And we're not talking about people who slavishly support you. We're talking about people who really believe in what you're trying to do, really, really identify and align with what your views, your values are, the works. They get your personality, they get your backstory. You only need 100 of those, and your content takes off, your sales takes off, your revenue takes off, everything takes off if you get 100. But a lot of people will go, well, how do I get the 100? What do I need to do? What is it why can't I get the 100? Maybe 100's too many for me. And weirdly, all of those questions are totally wrong. And we'll just use Trump as an example. Donald Trump is batshit, right? He is a batshit person. But he has built his army of die-hard supporters by being his true self. He's bombastic, he's bold, he says what he thinks, he says the unthinkable sometimes. But a lot of what he says, his audience identifies with. A lot of what he is saying, they think too. And there's a famous saying he said, where he said he could probably walk up onto Fifth Avenue in New York, shoot people, and his audience would still support him. And, obviously he was, I hope he was joking, but he's making a point there that his fandom, his supporter base is so committed to him that he could get away with murder. Literally, that's what he's saying. And his opponents have struggled to take him down because he's built this fandom. And Donald Trump not being afraid of, embarrassment or shame or any of that stuff has just driven through all of what would take somebody else down. The criminal convictions, all of that stuff, the sexual harassment, all that stuff that he's been through, that would finish somebody off. But his fandom is so much behind him, he's almost impervious to being taken down. Now, why is that? That's because they so align with him so closely that they back him no matter what. They are true die-hard Trump fans. And I've met some of those while I'm here. Some of them are nice people, some are slightly crazy people, but I've met some of them. Now, why am I using this Trump story? Well, one, it's a visual example. It's a clear visual example that everybody gets. It's totally clear. But I'm using it to also say something else. Some of you, the reason why you can't build those fans, the reason why you're struggling to build that momentum behind who you are, is because you are not being yourself. You are trying to fit in and conform when we live in an age where everybody's tribal. Now, I'm in my 40s, right? And when I was in school, I was told you have to be a certain way and behave a certain way. And, there's certain, standards of behavior and certain things you don't say, and you don't air your dirty linen in public and all these kind of things. And you were also told that, there's a professional way to do things and say things and all that stuff. There's a generation coming that's after me that has not been taught those things. There's a generation that has learned that you build an army, you build a tribe, you build a core supporter base by saying what you really think. Now, that doesn't have to mean attacking other people. That doesn't mean you have to challenge other people. That doesn't mean you have to be a Donald Trump. But you certainly have to be yourself and say what you really think. You certainly have to say, this is a bad idea. You certainly have to let your personality out. And most people don't do this because they're afraid of the consequences. They're so afraid of, well, if I do this, I could lose people. People might not like me. And it's perverse. in the way that this world works today, that you can build more attention, more engagement by actually focusing on one core crowd and really building that fan base. Imagine if you had 100 diehard fans who loved what you did and supported what you did. What would happen to your content? What would happen to all the stuff that you do? It would be off the charts. But what happens is we're so eager to be liked. We're so eager to get on with people that actually we end up so middle of the road, so vanilla, so saying nothing, that we end up literally not drawing anybody. And the other reason why I wanted to use Donald Trump is, obviously I'm in America and it's election fever here. I'm coming home just before the election, which is a pain because I would love to experience it. It's like there is an energy in the atmosphere about this election. And I'm not saying I'm supporting either candidate here. And, I'm British, so I don't even have a stake in this election. But as I'm watching the TV channels and I'm seeing all these interviews going on, I see two things happening. I see Donald Trump being Donald Trump and saying the things that he normally says, right? Crazy and all. But then I look at what Kamala Harris is doing, and she is desperately trying to cling on to a coalition of people who all believe different things. And my gut tells me, I could be totally wrong and I'll be humiliated next week when the election comes, the result is, but I could be totally wrong. My gut is Trump's going to win. Because all the interviews I'm seeing, and she is doing a ton of interviews, she's doing a lot of stuff. But when she's asked a question about a contentious issue, she avoids answering the question because I think she knows that one group of people will disagree with an answer. And so she's dodging answering issues that could potentially lose her votes with a particular group. And she's trying to hold on to such a broad coalition of people to get into that White House that I think she's gonna find it very difficult. If she does win, it'll be by such a narrow margin because she's trying to avoid saying things that could alienate or put people off. And sometimes we do that. We avoid saying anything that puts people off. And as candidates go, I don't think she's the strongest candidate that they could have put up. I don't think she's the best candidate she could have put up. But she's trying to cling on to being liked by a broad majority of people. But I don't think anybody's that excited about what she's going to do. What difference is she going to make? So, whereas Trump is saying stuff and he's being bold about it, and they're either with him or they're against him. And that's the way he's running. Now, I'm not saying we have to all turn into mini Donald Trump and paint our faces orange and go crazy. What I'm trying to illustrate here is that you don't get diehard fans by being middle of the road. You don't build up those people who back you, believe in you, by not saying what you think. Now, we don't have to belittle other people. We don't have to follow Trump's playbook, right? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is by standing up for what you believe in, putting a line in the sand and say, this is what I stand for. Putting a line in the sand and say, this is who I am. You actually draw more people to you who align with who you are. And this is essential for personal branding. And it's so sad when I go on LinkedIn and I see people basically pretending to be people they're not, just to get attention. So that's the first group. And then there's other people who are hiding who they are because they're worried. Maybe it's upbringing, background, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of missing out, that they hide who they are. And I've done that. I've done that, and I've got pissed off at seeing people who just be themselves and do really well, and then me going, oh, well, I can't say that because what if this, or I shouldn't do that because what if this? And I'm the one holding myself back for fear of random imagined people who are going to be put off. And it's like, if you look at all the people who've been successful in life, in business, they have 100% owned who they are and been prepared to be themselves in public and in private. And most people are afraid to do that. And that makes you middle of the road. That makes you not say things, not do things your way. And then people can't align with you. You know, I'm slightly nuts. I'm slightly crazy. I do things in a particular way. If people don't like that, I'm going to live my way. I'm going to do things my way. And some people will love it and some people will hate it. And there's power in that. There's strength in you doing that. So when people believe in you, they buy from you. Fans buy everything from you because they want to be in your team. They want to be in your crowd. And you can become magnetic by being yourself. There's so many people just literally copying what other people do to try and achieve success. And the real successful people just do it their way. And I see so many people, and I meet so many people kind of trapped in this prison of, what if I be myself and people don't like it? I was like, life's too flipping short for that. Business is too flipping short for that. If you're a small business owner, right, a solopreneur, you got to be yourself. Just own it and just enjoy it. Because some people will love your energy, they'll love the way you do things and want to be around you. Some people will see the way you do things, your personality, and go, that's who I want to work with. And if you look at this from a solopreneur point of view, it's your point of difference. But then look at people like Richard Branson, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. They've all been prepared to own themselves and do it their way. Even when people have said to them, you're stupid. This is not the way to do things. They've done it their way. They've carved their own path. They've cut out their own corner of the world and built their little empire. You may not be the next Jeff Bezos. You might not want to. You might just want to make a really good living and enjoy the time. Enjoy your free time. So be your fucking self. Be who you are. Own it. And let people buy into that. Because, I've met so many people who've done corporate jobs where the politics of the world, their world they've operated in, are so charged that you have to watch your back, you have to cover your ass, and all of that stuff. And then they come out of that because they don't want to be part of it anymore, but still feel like they're trapped in the prison of it. You can be yourself. And think about it. There's 7 billion people on the planet. All you need is a handful of people to buy into you, and you are financially free. You have your time free. You have the revenue you need. You have the business. You do not need thousands of people to love you. You're not running for president. You're just running to build your business that you may need in the next 10 years. I don't know your business, but you may only need in the next 10 years 100 clients. So why not own yourself and get clients who buy into your business because of who you are, and really set yourself free from all of this bullshit of conformity, which basically just makes you miserable, makes you frustrated, and makes you angry when you see other people doing it, being themselves and winning hands down, and you're frustrated. So I'm looking at Donald Trump here and I'm seeing him owning himself. And people, and this will really upset some people now, but I'm going to say it anyway. Some people are so enamored with Donald Trump, not because of his personality, but because he is himself. It's not his personality itself. It's the fact that he comes across as true to himself. And that's so powerful to be able to do that in a public space, whether it be on LinkedIn, on social media, on video, being able to be yourself is such a magnetic thing that you are comfortable in your own skin. People are drawn to it. And I think that's part of his success. It's certainly not his beliefs, or maybe his, might not be his politics, shall we say. It's the fact that he's not afraid to be himself. And people are drawn to that because it's like, he seems genuine. It might be genuinely flawed. He might be genuinely have some bad opinions, but he comes across as a genuine person in what he says and thinks. Whereas a lot of the people he's gone up against have dodged questions or not said things and maybe come across as a little disingenuous, a little non-answery, a little political, and we're getting fed up of people being, politicians. We want people who actually say what they think and say what they believe, and that's what people need from you. They don't need the crazy Donald Trump shit, but they do need you to show up, the real you. And for some of you, you may not know who you is, because if you've worked in corporate world for so long where you've had to conform and not say what you think and watch your back and cover your ass, you may end up in a situation where you're not really sure who the hell you are. And that's like a little journey of discovery for you. But don't be afraid to share what you think. I'm not advocating you attack people. I'm not advocating you pull people apart or anything like that, because I think that's real bad. But I am advocating for you to say what you think and be bold enough to stand behind your own opinions, to be bold enough and stand and let your personality out. And some people won't like it, and that's cool. But some people are going to love it. And you don't need the whole planet to love you. You don't need the whole planet to know you exist. You just need some die-hard fans who believe in you, who will buy from you, who will want to work from you. And the best thing you can do is show them who you really are. And that will really knock out your personal brand. You'll start to stand out. You'll start to resonate. You'll start to cut through, because now you're not being middle of the road, vanilla, treading on eggshells. You're actually doing what you really want to do. And it's so fulfilling. Scary, but it's so fulfilling. I dare you to do it. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Mindset, Marketing and Money Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notified about future episodes.